It's 4:30 for me. I don't know what time it is for you, but it's probably pretty late in the UK, so we should probably get started soon.
I'm pulling an all-nighter, so you're good regardless.
All right. Yeah, I'm running on a couple hours of sleep, so I think we
That's
all
not
stayed
bad.
up pretty late, but this is gonna be fun. I'm pretty awake. I don't really need sleep anyway. So let's get her done. We can actually start with a couple questions here. Whoa. Let's start off with why this group. So we got a couple people here. This is pretty much our whole editing friend group, but it's a very good variety for who we are. Mallowed's pretty good at 3D. Stone's pretty good at COD editing and effects. Luce is pretty good at Fortnite. I'm good at content. So it's a good variety of all these kinds of different subjects that if you guys would
Oh
need
my god.
anything that you can just toss it out of us. I do plan on having sort of like based podcasts in the future with some special people that are in special areas of all types of things. It's called creation, so it's very vague, and we're going to get a whole bunch of people on here in the future.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Some
Osiris
editors
says,
charge per clip and some per minute. Okay, per minute is dumb, but I do think valuing your time is very important. Like, I honestly believe we should be charging by the hour, just as like people who work at McDonald's do. But I don't know. No one's going to pay that in this community. So the odds of you getting someone that's even going to pay you $1 an hour is very low, especially due to the fact that most of us are lazy as fuck and will probably like eat up more time than we need to, and we'll probably run them dry before we even start the edit.
yeah, I mean, I
So
think per clip. Okay, so I've had experience with both of these. So I went through a commission service called Striatum a couple, maybe like a year or two ago, and they charged per minute. They thought it was a better gauge of your value and your money because you can change how you there's a lot of factors when you edit, so it really depends on who you are. But I think the best way to gauge your prices is like when you break it down into hours and stuff. It's not going to be perfect, it never will be, and again, you can make cinematics and stuff that'll make the edit time 10 times longer. But I mean, for example, most people charge only a couple dollars per clip. Like a couple meaning like two, three, like really low stuff. And if you break that down into an edit that takes you like, I would say for me, I don't know how it is for some other people, but it probably takes you like 40 hours on average to finish like a 3 minute montage. And 40 hours
Yeah.
divided by like a few dollars is like less than $1 per hour. Like you're not getting your money's worth. Now the whole
yeah,
idea of the COD community is that it's like for a hobby and we're children, so it's not a real job, and so there's some gauging of like where you're at in your personal life and where you want to take this whole career. So I don't I think it depends on who you are and what you're trying to do. But as a whole for payment, everybody should be charging a whole lot more. People charge some ridiculous
I
prices that
feel
are
like
so
as the
low.
whole though, as a whole for like you as a creator and the entire community as a whole, what they do is they'll undervalue themselves. They'll think their work isn't as good to be like charging $10 a clip and stuff like that, charging $15, and then you'll underprice to the point where you're like charging $4 a clip, $6 a clip, and that's stupid because you're gonna get more work but less pay. So it's basically getting the same amount of like pay for more work. If you were to accept
Yeah,
less projects for a higher price, you'd be getting more money for less.
but so that's one thing people really do need to learn though is if you're working in a commission base, sometimes you need to learn to when to say no. Like I know some people like need the money and stuff like that, but never undervalue yourself because you've got to think about the amount of time that'll go into it. And for example, I turned down a commission today. It was wanting it in such a short amount of time, and it was wanting to underprice me. Which I'm in a position where any commission is good for me, but still knowing how long it would take to do that was just not a smart idea for me to make, so I turned it down.
Charging by the hour in this community is hard because actually clocking in how many hours someone edits, as well as people actually trusting the editor when they say I work 30 hours in this edit. Yeah, so there's a lot of factors. I would say, it's a very I always say that there is a very sort of important gap between the editor and client relationship. You both have to trust each other, you both have to be confident in each other and value each other. And if you can learn to work with each other on a sort of closer basis, everything's gonna go right. Um,
And yeah, like I feel like you do this as well, but everyone should have this like baseline when working with a client, depending on the projects you have. Like say for an episode, you have this bare minimum that you can accept. Say you want to charge 10 a clip, but this person can't pay that. As long as they can pay within like say $80 for an episode, then you can accept it. That's how low you would go. For a montage, $200. You're not going to go lower than that. If it's lower than that, you don't take it. Type shit like that will save you time and will like just it won't be as annoying when you're trying to like get money and you just take on every fucking project ever, because I've done that. I still
It'll
do that
weed
sometimes.
out the people who are trying to get some up cheap from you, from the people who really are taking an interest in your work and want to buy from you. Because there are a lot of people out there who will try really underpriced editors. It does happen quite frequently. And
When
it
did
isn't
y'all
fair,
start?
but it happens.
My
So,
bad.
so,
He said, when did y'all start and why did you start for editing?
who wants to go first on this one?
um,
Okay, I started. I was a designer for like a year and a half or something like that, and I joined a team called Marv as co-lead, and I was in there for quite a while. And then I saw Expect release this one edit that was like, okay. As soon as I saw that, I knew I wanted to do that shit. I instantly knew I wanted to get to that point, and I still want to get to that point, but he was my inspiration. And as soon as I did, I made sure I got to the point where I could at least say I was in a team with him. And that was my motivating factor for it. And as soon as I got to that point, I just fell in love with it.
Toy?
Mallowed. All right,
I'll
I'll
go.
go. Oh, okay. You go. You go. You go.
So I've actually been playing as a player in the community since about 2011, 2012. And I, back then, because I was a little kid, I could never get anyone to take me seriously when it came to having edits and stuff done. So when I got my first computer back in 2014, I got After Effects and started learning how to edit. But I actually didn't take it seriously until about, I want to say, mid 2016, when Red was at its peak roster. That's when I got really interested, and people are gonna know this from me, but when Dreams started getting popular, and that's when I really took an interest, because for me he did editing in such a different way that it really just interested me personally.
Hell yes, in dreams.
All right.
But yeah,
I started editing in June of 2016. Uh, I'd say technically longer than that, but if you count like just here and there throughout your entire life, that's probably everybody. But I started editing montages in 2016. I was originally a Destiny editor. Uh, I I would say what got me into editing like then was I knew some basics that I'd learned from school and like Premiere and stuff. I took a media class and I learned some stuff, and I took it with my friend um, as well, and so we had about the same knowledge from the same class. And one day we decided we had always watched like montages like on YouTube and stuff from Phase and whatever, but like we decided one day that we would take our own clips and just and have a little HC, I guess you could say. We didn't really call it that at the time. Obviously, we had no idea. So we made like a short clip montage face off that we went against each other, and after that day, like I thought I just enjoyed it a lot, and I did more research and learned that you could use After Effects and stuff and do all these other things. And I remember opening After Effects and being like, what is going on here? I was so like crazed. um, but you just gotta like push through it and learn new things. And then I started learning about the editing community in Destiny, um, which was pretty non-existent at that exact time. But we had there was actually a Destiny clan called Editor Clan that was pretty big. Or it was big in terms of like membership, but I got into a game with another editor, a popular editor on Destiny named Rezel, and was the one who actually started this clan. And I saw editor under his name in Destiny, and I looked it up and I joined it, and it was like all on Bungie, and then we started a Discord, and that was pretty much how I started. We all made friends, and then just kind of kept at it together, and it's just been like a really fun experience since then. You know, just keep at it for a few years, and you don't really notice the time pass.
Osiris's second question: how do you guys feel about teams paying their editors their personal prices rather than a set budget? As an example, $200 per month. Well, that can be both a pro and a con. When that, you'd have to be more justified because it depends on how many projects that person is doing for the team per month. For example, if they're only doing short stuff, like maybe like team Taj parts, say like a 10-clip part, one or two there a month, that's pretty reasonable. But say if they're doing big projects where it's like big episodes and stuff like that, and they're doing like 2 to 3 a month, it's pretty stupid paying the $200 per month. So I see how paying their editors their actual prices would be a better thing. But that can also be restrictive because you could have one editor in the team who's like thinks. See, this is also again comes down to an editor's ego. Some editors can think that they're willing, like people have to pay them so much more than they're actually worth. Because yeah, people should value themselves at what they think they're worth, but there's also a standard of how good you are compared to everyone else around you, and you should value your price depending on that, which is a lot of people get wrong in this community.
Yeah, I think it's just about agreeing upon a certain thing, like having a lot of smaller teams that pay. I feel like they believe that that's all we care about. It's not, and there's a lot more to it than pay. The concept of pay in the community has evolved. Like now I feel like people do it because they want to say that, oh, we're paying our people and you know we're better than everybody else. That's not necessarily the case, and $200 a month should more so equate to a certain amount of projects. You know, it's like, do you do four content videos or one a week, or something like that? There's there's a lot of factors where you have to take into account, and sort of the my everybody's case is different, both client and editor.
What was the other question? Was there any other questions asked yet? No, there was not. So do you want to go off the list now?
Well, make us a
The best
question
way to
here.
get into motion design. Okay, that's not something most of us can answer, but I have some experience. So I'd say the best way is just watch some tutorials if you don't know anything about it, or if you do know like a little bit, just try shit. Just like try whatever comes to your mind, even if it sounds stupid, even if you don't even think it's gonna work. And even from like all the failures that you make, you're gonna learn eventually what will work and what won't. But motion design is very key on the word motion. If your motion is very choppy, very like abrupt, if there's no flow to it, it's just like a COD edit, it won't work. Even if there's no music, if it doesn't feel like it flows fluently, it will feel unnatural.
See, picking up on what Son just said then, it's like COD editing. Most editors who use After Effects, or even some Vegas users who use After Effects for their text and stuff like that, will have a base knowledge of how to do motion design. So it's not necessarily getting into it, it's just a lot of people, including myself, struggle when it comes to trying to think of some on the spot to do. So just give yourself a theme and try and just create something you like. The theme could be anything. TV series, could be for a friend, like if a friend needs a live gift. Just try and mess around. Have fun.
So the key to motion design, it says it in the name itself, it's designing. You have to have at least somewhat of a background in design to stand out from everyone else. Because most of the editors, they just go straight into motion design. They don't know the basics of text design. They don't know the basics of like compositional design or anything like that. It's just black background, white text, motion graphics. That's not it. That's not gonna like set you apart like someone like Neil. He actually knows how to design without motion. So if you can do that, and then add your motion to the designs you make, you will go so much further than just going straight from editing to motion.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, people don't see, they see motion design as simply animation, which is not the case. It is design. There's a whole lot more to it. And again, like you said, everybody editor, all the editors who know a decent amount probably know a little bit of motion graphics using a speed graph and whatever. But if you actually want to call yourself a motion designer, like, you gotta like put effort into learning all the techniques and sort of standing out, being creative, and that will definitely make you a lot happier in the long run. Um, yeah, how are people using my emo? Don't you have to be a sub for that?
No, there's a little thing at the bottom now that they've added to Twitch where if you're in a chat safe for so long time, you'll build up these points and you can unlock their emote safe 24 hours. Or you can there's custom stuff you can do.
Oh, weird. Well, thank you. I hope you guys like it. Uh, my little koi fish. I plan to get more.
Where do you see yourself in the next 4 years?
You want to go
That's a
first?
very difficult question to answer.
None of us can really like travel through time to really guess that because
More okay. Well, where do you want to be?
Where do
I want to be in a
be?
design company.
I have no idea. Probably like on stage performing music. That'd be nice.
Well, 4 years. Let's see. I'll be.
From code editor to 3D designer to music producer, dance song, doing it all.
Hell yeah.
I'll be 23 years old. Well, that's honestly that's a pretty good chunk of time. I could probably accomplish a fair amount. I want to see
Well, have a
myself
good
being
time with it.
stable as a career, but in the long run, I would hope that I would have done a lot more. I want to do videography. Film is my end goal, so that's where I want to go in terms of this whole creative career, I guess. Thanks for stopping by, Will. Have a good time, day, whatever.
Rise, the question you have just asked started a 2-hour argument about a week ago.
We were like non-stop just going at each other about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sum our 2-hour argument up into the shortest I can.
Yeah,
And these two will pitch in their answers. Basically, what's happened with the community is it seems like a lot more people was creative prior, and that is the case, but also it's not the case. It's just because what was considered creative then is the standard now. And yes, standards back then, like it may seem like edits back then that was average, which wouldn't hold up now, is the same as like the standard overall for the community has gone up. Averages increase over time. If you go back to 2015 and look at the top stuff back then, that's average with what most COD editors make now. But even if you go a year forward from that, 2016, when Dreams, Tyrant, Scape, and everyone was at their peak, I would say, most editors don't come close to that now. And it's because everyone puts themselves in this confined environment where they have to create stuff, but they have to do it to a certain level of like, it has to be like this. So they limit themselves. Sorry if I'm mumbling here. But yeah, they limit themselves to this confined environment, I guess you could call it.
And the like issue with that shit is when they confine themselves, they also follow this one formula, and that formula, like they've seen many times, works. And when they follow it, they know they're going to be able to release a good edit, and they just see like, oh, I'm getting support on this. Maybe I shouldn't have to change anything. And that's where most people fall victim to this. Average edits are good; their standards are there, but there's no style, there's no substance anymore because they're doing what works, but they're not trying to like break open this box and stuff like that and discover like their own unique way of doing this formula. And that's what was like so prominent in 2016, 2017. That's not prominent now, is people wanting to like put their name on a form of music, a form of editing and stuff like that. Like when you think of people like Vess, you immediately associate them with this one style. Owen,
that's the thing. Sorry, I'm sorry, Son. I'm gonna interrupt because I just want to put this out there. People have got into this thing of categorizing people like, say, Stolen. I wouldn't know what thing. You'd be like ambient music and stuff like that. And you've got Scape, who would be stuff like indie. dreams, EDM, like electronic, people, instead of just calling it their own style, of confining to these genres of music or these genres of style, and it's so confining because everyone argues over who is like who and comparing each other to these other editors that have done something similar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole variety of editors in the community that it's really hard to say what's good anymore. Like all the sort of like OG editors don't really exist anymore, and sort of like the staple of what we're at now is based on who they are. I believe that a lot of edits and editors can be a lot better than they are, but there has been a sort of formula created when when people edit, when people watch, that's like what they're accustomed to. And hey, I don't know, it's just there can always be better, but
And I feel
it's
like I
how
feel like
it's not
it's
gonna happen.
very when you compare most of like the stylistic editors of 2016, 2017, you put one of their edits up without even seeing the title, without even seeing their name on it, you immediately associate it with them because it's so distinct. But now if you were to put two edits from, like, say, two Fortnite editors up, two completely different Fortnite editors, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference unless their names were on it because they're doing the same thing. They're following the same pattern. And that's not me saying they're bad in any way or they're cloning each other or they're anything like that. It's just there's no distinctiveness. It's people taking bits and pieces from other people's stuff that they know works and applying it to theirs without their own methods, without their own unique flair to it. There are some exceptions, like Deer, for example, in Fortnite. You can tell what's. Oh my god, I can't English. You can tell when it's a Deer edit because he just has this unique way of doing it. But you can't tell when it's someone else's edit compared to like a smaller scale Fortnite editor because it's basically just the exact same edit repeated. That's my view, at least.
Hmm.
See, and also,
Editors.
oh, go on, Clay. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'll just go to the next question.
I was just gonna say one more thing for any editors who are actually in the chat. This is one thing I pointed out, and I think everyone in that call agreed with me. It's people who've got into the use of calling some effects generic, like time warp, RGB, warp chroma, sorry, and effects of that nature. And people don't get it's not the effect that's creative itself; it's the way their editor uses it. For example, I'll name 3 different editors and I'll give how their styles are completely different to each other just because of the way they use stuff. Like everyone uses color in their edits, regardless of what style of edit you use color. But even he created a complete style of just how he controls the color in his edits. It gives the edit a completely different atmosphere to all the other editors that was around him at the time. And then another example would be Tarrant with his blurs and glows. They added such an emphasis in the impact of his edits that he didn't even have to use heavy pan crop. Another editor term for any editors in the chat.
Yeah, and like
And then
most
you've got
edits nowadays, like
okay.
they don't focus on this emphasis. They don't focus on this like impactfulness of these subtleties. They focus on what's flashy enough that will make people go ooh and ah. If there's not that, then maybe I should just like keep it clean and not try and do these little nuances that are so unique to me that will like make this edit be like holy fuck when an actual editor who's experienced sees it and it's just like how did he do that? I want to know how he did that. You don't see that anymore. No, like most of the time, people know exactly what you did, and they're just like, okay, whatever. I forget about that tomorrow. You don't forget about what Tyrant did. You don't forget about what Dreams did because they had those like subtleties that just fucking took their edits from the like medium average to well God's here in my opinion. But they're rewatchable. They're you could literally study them and learn shit if you wanted to.
Osiris, do you guys remember a few months ago when Team Cult used music from an artist named Jared Evan?
I
You guys
don't
feel like
remember
this
that.
is something marketing should strive to do? Well, this isn't just something that's just happened recently. Logic blew up because of Fizz, in a sense. He really helped they really helped him. Sorry, back in the day.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
that's a really cool thing to do. Like associate like smaller musicians and stuff like that actually have talent and bring them into a bigger organization just to promote them, because that will take you from like being a simple COD team or a simple like gaming org into like more of an actual organization, a rounded company, depending on the stature you're at. Like if you're at a higher stature and you recruit someone for that and you get music directly from them for your videos that's at a standard of music you'd use normally, that is one, good for copyright purposes, and two, will just it'll make you look like a professional company. Like you're supporting not only uh the gaming aspect and the artistic gaming aspect, but you're supporting just artists in general, like just creators as a whole, which is something I haven't seen any team do good. The only team that has that type of like closeness to that is FaZe, because they're owned by famous musicians and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I support all creative people, and if we can help develop that relationship where we help each other, creatives as a whole, like no matter who you are, pretty much struggle like all around, finding clients, finding, like making good work or like whatever it may be, like there's a number of things like creatives need to stick together, in my opinion, and just help each other because it's going to be a rough road for you if you want this as a career. Um, or you just being involved in sort of this judgmental era we're in. And I think one thing is really good, like you mentioned copyright, like these days, like some of the most important things as editors we is the song choice. We love to choose good songs, but if we can't use a lot of the ones that we want, then we're going to be upset about it. Now it's not the most important thing if we're just doing like edits and stuff because they get copyright claimed on YouTube, but they don't necessarily like they don't block the
We're not
video
going to
all the
make money
time.
off of that shit. We're not going
Right.
to make a dime off of YouTube monetization, so it doesn't matter in that sense. But yeah, go on.
But if we can get some good music where we can start using it for our benefit, both artist and editor and stuff like that, like this is gonna be beneficial to everyone, and it's like why not?
And I feel like when it comes to music as a whole, there's a lot of fucking beautiful songs that I really wish I could edit to. Like Love's music, all of it's blocked all over the world on YouTube. That's annoying. He is one of my favorite musicians. I can't even use one of his songs. And another terrible thing is like when you want to work with a company and you want to use this song, you've had this song for so long, but maybe it's not blocked, but it's copywritten, and they can't pay you because they're not going to make any money off of it on their channel, and that's where all their like funding towards you comes from. So that's when it's like, if you have a musician in your team that can like make a song straight from scratch, like two musicians, a producer and a singer, just straight up make a song tailored to what you want, that's more like impactful for not only your team, but like just your creators, your like overall brand as a whole, because then you don't need to require getting licenses for music. You don't need to require all that bullshit. You can literally just take the song and use it, no issues, full payment. So much easier. I feel like that would change the way like professional companies work and stuff like that as well.
um Best FPS to
Hello.
render in.
How I told them 24 in my opinion.
24. Well,
Depends on what you're doing though.
It depends honestly on yourself and how you like how it looks, because the lower the FPS go, the rougher the edit will look. So it's all down to personal preference. Plus, it depends on what you're working with. Motion graphics, you can have them like cartoon ones, which would be 10 FPS, and then you can have soft animations that you'd use for game industry and stuff in general, which would be 30. For stuff like COD editing, anything between 21 to 30 is fine. I wouldn't go higher or lower. It just gets rough. But yeah, it's all down to personal preference when it comes to COD editing and stuff like that.
There's also like depending on if you're going for a style, like if you're going for like a stop animation style, where they like you want to kind of animate in twos. If you're doing 24 FPS, divide it by two, and then you'll have like 12s and stuff like that. So then it's gonna go by twos, and that's gonna give you more of like the classic like Disney animated shit where it's on 2 frames and stuff. And I haven't seen anyone try and do that before, where they edit on twos in some areas and ones in other areas at the like in a same scene. And so like kind of like how Spider-Man did on the Spider-Verse, where one of them was on twos and he was all clunky and unnatural looking, and the other one was on ones and he looked really smooth and knew what he was doing. And it gives us it gives a different feel to the entire environment of this thing. It gives it a new style, which I haven't seen done at all in a COD edit. And I feel like if you were to do that, I don't know how you would do it, but if you were to apply that type of like knowledge, that could
I don't think that would work with console.
probably not console, but the PC editing. I feel like
If
could work
anything,
really nice.
it'd have to be in your cinematics if you were to.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, like in a scene, not in a like clip.
Mm.
Yeah.
Infomax's questions. Are you guys trying to stay in the creative industry in the future / your profession? Are you doing this just for a hobby, studying something else for your profession? Well, I think everyone who's doing this podcast, myself and Kai and Son, are all wanting to go into creative fields. We want to pursue creative industries. I think we spoke a bit brief on this before because someone asked, what do you see yourselves doing in 5 years' time? We all want to go into creative fields, but of all personal takes on what we've learned from here, I can say.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, like I want to do film. I forget exactly what you guys said, but like I think one thing I want to mention is like in my opinion, this whole like community, like gaming and stuff, is very beneficial to our whole creative like career. Like I don't really understand. Like it's hard for me to imagine like people who started, doing like personal videos in other areas and like and just on their own, and most of the time they genuinely, like in my opinion, aren't as good as people from here. We learn a lot of techniques from editing video games and stuff like that that is really quite awesome. I saw like Divinity post his wedding video, and I'd never seen a wedding video created like that before. Usually it's just like clip after clip and just some boring stuff, but he had like some cool stuff going on. And I think that this whole community is like really beneficial, but as like the worst part of it is sort of like the toxicity, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just to
you're gonna get toxicity in any community you're a part of. It's how you handle the toxicity that's important and stuff. If you complain about it, you whine about it, it's just gonna stay there, and you're just gonna look like you're whining about it. If you ignore it, nothing will happen. So like that, they'll continue to do it no matter what. That's the thing. Like, there will always be someone that's toxic. But if you just like add to the problem by complaining about it, you're just, I don't know, you're just gonna annoy your followers, or you're just gonna be complaining about it, something that's never gonna stop.
Before we detail quickly, I just want to touch up on what Kai was just talking about Divinity. A lot of creative fields I can say have took something from like the editing community, what we would call the editing community. For example, music videos do a lot of what COD editors have been doing for years. But that's another thing about the toxicity thing. So that's I get what you're saying, but what I think was on about before is just how toxic the community currently is. Like, there's very few people.
Oh yeah. That's not me denying it's super toxic. It is probably one of the most toxic communities. Like top 10.
There's very few people who will give genuine feedback instead of just calling you clone, calling you shit, this, that.
Yeah.
And it's just
the jealousy is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
People will they'll see someone doing good, they'll see someone getting clout. Maybe that you like they believe they don't deserve it because their jealousy overrides them, or maybe they just aren't as good as some of the people that deserve the clout, and then you just like bandwagon to attack him, bandwagon to say he's a clone, he's shit, he's not actually a good editor and stuff like that. Instead of telling him straight up what he needs to work on without any hostility, telling him don't get a big head, don't do all this, just listen to what we're saying, and your like ego and stuff like that will eventually dissipate because you'll realize, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I am. Uh, Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. Maybe I'm just getting support because I'm the only one posting shit.
To Osiris's question, I think I can answer that for all three with you. Having a big name behind you will help with commissions itself. Like,
Oh yeah.
so I think being in the team itself would confine you slightly due to depending on what your contract is, but in overall things would help you with commissions a lot. Like it also opens up a lot of doors. Like for example, this is where it's going to get a little heated. Me personally, I don't think the. In fact, no, that's a wrong way to come out. For example, I'll go at this a better way. Look at Barker. Barker is been in phase for a lot of time, and because of that name, he's got opportunities to work with a lot of people. And the amount of income and just how much commissions he gets just from having them letters in his name helps so much. Like for example, Meter. Meter, I don't know what team he was in before phase. I think it was Saw.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was on about it at one point where he ended up making. He was on like 10K a month
Jesus.
from doing editing. So having that name can really open doors for you.
And that's part of that. I'm not sure if people really understand is because his prices are so high. He doesn't just do a bajillion projects. It's like he just is that guy, you know. But as far as like editing for big teams, like Phase and Obey examples, but I really like the esports community. I, for example, like I support salary. Freelance, like being scared that you're not going to make enough money for the month is kind of rough. And if you can get a consistent job to make consistent videos and that of which you actually want to do, like that's like game over right there. I'd love to do that.
I mean, like I don't know. With my experience being in like teams like Red and Obey and stuff, especially Red. As soon as I joined, I was barely known. I was in there as a CS:GO editor, and I joined as a COD editor. So barely anyone really knew who I was, and I was able to go from like charging $4 a clip to charging $7 a clip, which was unheard of to me. I never thought I could do that. And the first client I got, he was like, "Hell yeah, I'll pay that!" Like instantly, no questions asked. And then every single client was like that because those three little letters, and that's just like that's fucking wild, especially for like editors that maybe they don't think they are that great and stuff like that, but they get this lucky ass opportunity because like there are some people who aren't nearly as good as others who just get better opportunities because they knew how to play their cards right, and it will take you from like this low point. You never thought you could like make any money. Everyone was saying no to you, to everyone saying yes to you, throwing money at you. You're gonna be like fucking raking in all this shit. Like look at Panda, look at how much he got off of Red. I'm not saying he's bad by any means, but he got so much clients off of Red Reserve. And I feel like if he didn't join Red, he wouldn't have got those clients the way he did. And that's very impressive by him. I think that's very important what he did. But like just play your cards right. That's more like the message I want to get at, because it doesn't matter how good you think you are. If you talk to the right people, if you get into the right conversations and stuff like that, you can get where you think never imaginable. 50K a month.
Mixed question. Was gonna ask, what's your opinion on clones? My personal opinion is for it. Instead of trying to clone someone, take from their work and make it your own. But there are people, and I will give this example because it was a recent thing that popped up on Twitter. Sully, he did clone a few editors. He did it well, don't get me wrong, but he didn't turn it enough into his own, which I personally talked to him. I didn't shit talk him and say, you're like idiot, you shouldn't have cloned them, this, that, stop cloning people. I said, it's cool and you executed it well, but you should have made it your own. That big difference will get you from being branded as a clone instead being branded as a good editor. It's being able to take what you see and learn and make it your own.
Yeah, I
Do
mean,
you guys think this? Okay, go ahead.
cloning as a whole is sort of a derogatory term nowadays, I guess you could say. It's like copying
Hmm.
someone is is not necessarily the end of the world, but it's understanding that you are doing it, and that, if you want to be respected as a creative, you should do your best to make it your own. Yes. And there's the idea of the consensus around the community of like calling each other clones is there's not there's most people who do that are very they do it because they're trying to insult the person, when in reality you should just try to help the person get better. And editing is supposed to be fun, do what you want, but if you want to get better, you could try to copy some other people, learn new stuff, and use that knowledge to change that and make it your own.
Do you think this community is revolved around connections, like mainly revolved around connections to other people?
Um,
Yeah, depends.
See,
Definitely
this
depends.
is where I want to bring in a bit more personal because I would say, yes, I know having connections does help, but that doesn't mean you cannot make it on your own. There's been many examples where people have just blown up out of the blue and admit they're on. Like, I'll be honest, I've been in this community for years as a player and as an editor, and it wasn't till the end of last year when I started getting noticed. That was just from hard work.
Like, look at Sully, for example. He that ignore the like controversy of him cloning or whatever, but like him um releasing that one edit and stuff on the Obey ER, going for a challenge like that, that's what got him noticed. And now he has these connections to the team he wants to join, the teams that he may want to join if he doesn't get that. And he wouldn't have gotten that if he didn't go for like the contest or whatever. And he did it on his own. He didn't need connections to go for that. It was a public thing that he did, and he tried to step up his game, and he did it on his own. But I feel like most cases you're gonna get further by connections than you will by doing it on your own and stuff
Yeah.
because like it's just how it
Connections
is.
is a
If you
really important part of progressing your career. Like,
That's how I got to where I did with Red and everything because I not doing this like for my own personal gain and stuff. I just wanted to make friends with like all the leaders just because I wanted to make friends with them. Like Alpha, he's now my fucking brother on this shit because
Alpha is such an amazing guy.
I just spoke to him in DMs, just had a casual conversation. I didn't ask him if I could link him for Red. I didn't do all that. And then when it naturally came, I just asked him if I could take on a Red project sometime. And he said, link your edits. I did. And he's just like, okay, I'll give you this. I did it. I took the chance. I took the opportunity. And then he had another project for Red available. And I took that as well. And two of those two edits, one being my Tangerine edit and the other being the edit I scrapped for Brana, those were what got me into that team because I made the connection and I wasn't even looking to really like get to that point. I just wanted to work for Red,
I mean,
So some of what he's saying is instead of trying to use people, get to know them.
get
yeah,
to know them, become friends with them.
reach out, because if you feel like you're alone, or just if you want help with like anything, you know everybody's different, but there is no harm in just trying. I don't know how a lot of people's like anxiety is or whatever, but you have to create your own opportunities. You know, if you gotta
Like
reach,
tweeting
yeah,
out,
everything you
that's a
can do.
good point. Like if you tweet out what is it, like a compilation of all the projects you've done on your Twitter saying you're looking for work, that's not going to be at all useful. What you have to do, make your own opportunities and stuff like that. Go to DMs, go to these people, take your shot and stuff like that. Ask them if they're able to work with you. Maybe offer a free trial for like one or two projects. If you're doing montage editing, I don't recommend that. But if you're doing like, I don't know, content editing, one or two videos for free, and then the rest you start at a lower price and until you work up to that relationship with them. If you don't, you're not going to get that connection ever because they might never know who you are. You probably will never speak to them if you don't actually go out and do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, some of the I've within the past few months I have put myself into content editing, and I've emailed and messaged like 20, 30 people a day. And out of like that many people, like for several months straight, you know, you can guess that how many people actually responded, let alone actually got the opportunity to. Like one out of like 50, hardly any. Like this is such a gung ho thing that if you want something, you could do it, but it's gonna be hard work, and you have to go out and do it yourself. Like, don't be lazy. You know, like you said, making a show reel is great, but if you just simply tweet it out and wait for something to come to you, and you're like wondering why nothing does, like you shouldn't wonder, because that's exactly what's happening. Is, you know, you have to promote it. You have to go out of your way, and you know, it's there's a whole aspect of, you know, you have the skill of editing, but now you got to run your business well, and there's a lot to learn in that aspect.
Also, Osiris, I don't mean to correct you here, but Jitsi before he joined OB already knew all the leads and everything.
Oh yeah, he had good connections to them. A lot of people say it was rigged. I don't really think it was, but
No,
a
he
lot of
was
people were
definitely
saying
good
that
enough to
because
join.
yeah, he was good enough.
He stood out for the Red RC, I think. Yeah, he joined Red before a bit, and that's when he kind of blew up. And then, well, during the RC, like everybody, you know, like just play your, yeah, like you said, play your cards right.
Who are, in your opinion, some of the best indie editors? Vash, Rocky, and Skate. Hands down.
Pretty much. Me, it'd be. See, Jexy, for me, I wouldn't consider him indie, but he has done indie edits. So, in that sense, Jexy, but also not Jexy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with those people. Indies, like, those editors are some of the people that every, I guess, smaller indie editor looks up to, like, sort of revolutionize the genre, right? But yeah, so that's what a lot of people look up to. So you have to say them, whether you like it or not, really. um, all right, so we can move on to some of these other questions.
Also, I think that the reason why God tier edit hasn't been why a God tier had bro, I can't read.
Oh, there. I also think that the reason why God to Edit hasn't been made for a couple years is because people watch the Red editors from 2016 and unconsciously copy what they have seen from the God editors in 2016. They make that the source of their creativity. I agree with that a little bit.
I was about to say, I agree. Sorry, Kai, go on.
Well, yeah, just base statement. I agree with that because I feel like it's not fair to call people clones and stuff when they unintentionally do it. Because after you watch like a bajillion edits from a long time ago, because they're like so great, your brain is wired to do the same thing when you reach the same point in your own editing.
Also, I wouldn't. It's hard to say like that we all take from 2016 editors because all them editors take from editors prior to them.
Oh yeah, like Tyrant.
But it's just a big cycle.
Tyrant said in the stream that he had like a few days ago that his style isn't even his. It was, I think it was Javasu's. I can't remember.
It was built up of editors.
exactly. It's how you use those
Right.
like
As everything
inspirations.
is.
Yeah,
Every creative thing
everything
is
is
going to
a
take from
copy of
something
someone
else.
else's, but like it's how you interpret it that's what makes it unique to you. And because if you just interpret it like exactly how you saw it straight to your edits, and you'll get called a clone, and that's where clone culture comes in. But like if you know how to interpret it, then you become, well, a style. You become your own entity, and you transcend like being a clone. You become what people want to copy now.
Stream lagging, or is it just me? Let me unmute it. Nope, stream's fine for me.
Okay.
To hear myself was not a fan of that.
I think we're
Oh, I
coming up
hate
on the
hearing
hour
myself.
mark. So if there's any last questions that y'all want to mention, um, one of the,
Hello.
I think we've pretty much covered like everything that I wanted to ask, but the last thing was, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced in your years of editing, um, whether it be within editing or your experiences with some other people? What are some things that come to mind?
For me, it would be having to get myself out there, like getting it in. It was so difficult at first because, like I said, I built my style off of Dreams' work because I really liked how he edited. And like for what it's saying with the toxicity of this community for years on end, from 2016 all the way to still this year, start of this year, people were just calling me a Dreams Club. But I ignored it and just kept going.
Okay, I didn't hear the question, but they asked a very important question. What did you guys think about the events of the Obey ER? Now,
I
I
think,
have strong opinions on that, but Mel,
yes,
go ahead.
so as do I. I
Uh,
think what Obey did was stupid, but what they
yeah.
did to the editors was even worse.
I think
Well,
there's a
could
whole
you
very
elaborate on that reason?
there's a big miss like
I won't
I
say
think
it.
Avian wanted to do something unique. I like the idea of the tournament, but sort of like when it comes to picking up an editor to a big team like that, there's too many unforeseen factors that come into play with that, and especially with the state of like not only the whole editing community but specifically their team, is like there's quite a bit of ways that they could have gone about it, and at this point in time, like there are so many editors that haven't gotten the opportunity that I feel like they deserve, and they should just revamp their roster as right away as best they can, which I think they're going to be doing. So he realized, I don't know if I would call it a mistake, but realized the gravity of the situation, and it made it worse when he skipped around and didn't give
Yeah, this
opportunities
is where I
towards
would
the people in the
call it a
second
mistake.
round. Um,
For the first Obey, yeah, I got a lot of lashback for it being, what? So all the editors who just got kicked out get nothing in return, really, and that was the case, and that happened around the second time around, which gave it another lot of backlash. And then my opinion with this, and this is where I got really upset with it, was even if it was a bad idea, they should have stuck through with it. They already started it. So to the people who were going for it and the people who got nothing out of it in the end, because it was like four editors who just got nothing because they decided to skip around.
mhm.
I find that so unfair. And
I,
that's why I it's,
okay. My opinion on it is the concept of the contest. I enjoy that. It was done by T3C and it was done well, and it is a good concept of contest. It's just not a good format for recruiting, in my opinion. And it's not because it's just like a bad idea. It's just because it was a flawed idea. The execution of it could have been better. There was many ways that they could have went about it. I feel like when it comes to the execution they had, they wanted to recruit people, but they only decided one person and gave more work to the mass amount of people than to say uh, like they tried to shove more work at people than they should have. Instead, I feel like once they got to that second round, they should have been working on obey projects immediately. They shouldn't have been
yeah.
Possibly
working
the
on.
the one thing that could have made it just a tad bit better was if they had prizes. The lack of like
Oh yeah,
reward to it was was rough because
Mhm.
the only thing people were doing was trying to join the team, and once that one reason that they wanted to join left, then they didn't care anymore. You know.
And the issue with the prizes that was brought up with Avium was, since it's a form of recruitment and not just a normal contest, people would just like win the prize and then leave the team, and then it'd be all for nothing. And that's where I feel like it falls flat. And it's not because it's a bad model for like a contest; it's a bad model for recruitment. I feel like you should have a normal recruitment challenge if that's what your goal is, to get editors in the team.
Mm.
If you're having a contest, just have a contest with the option to accept the prizes and join the team for first place. You don't have to join the team, but it's an option when you get first place.
People are always going to be better at one thing than another, and trying to weed out those people that did try to do their best but maybe didn't quite meet what they were going for on every different game. It just it was really
That
flawed.
that as well. I don't feel like when they were trying to do it, they were trying to like recruit for every category. One editor should be able to do every category, and I don't feel like that's
That's
what's
also
important
with the
for the
idea that the editor wants to do all that stuff, you know?
that's
I
the,
know.
that's the thing. You'd get more projects and results from like getting certain editors within certain categories instead of all-in-one editors, because then you can have your COD editors focus on COD and have your Fortnite editors focus on
See,
Fortnite instead of
this is
making.
where I want to. Sorry, Sam, for cutting you off. But this is where I want to input my voice as coming from a leader, because me and Solon both lead edit teams. What where when I mean me and the other leaders are doing is exactly what we've just discussed about. We've picked up, in a sense, two completely separate editing rosters, but in the same sense. We have one that primarily focuses in Fortnite, and we have one that's heavily focused in COD, but we also have people who do the in between who enjoy editing both. And that's where, once again, where Son said, I think Obey fell flat.
People
Because
are
not
going to
everyone's going to
enjoy
be
the
good at
team
everything.
less if they are forced to do what they don't want to be doing.
Mm.
And I feel
That's
like I
why,
feel like that's what he understood at the end of it, after the whole arguments and stuff like that. I feel like that's what Avium took away from it, which was like, this type of format shouldn't be used for recruiting, because you're not going to get an all-in-one package, because it's not reasonable to ask that of someone when they don't, like, some people just don't have interest in certain games. They don't find enjoyment in Fortnite, they don't find enjoyment in COD. Like, the people that find enjoyment in one thing will be really good at that one thing, and will be really bad at the others. And it's more about like, um if you want a certain standard, just get them, that's like, get people that are better at that one thing instead of everything, because then you'll get a diluted standard for your roster.
Alrighty, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here in a sec.
see,
And
one thing before we wrap up, Meg, when you say it forces people to try new stuff, don't get me wrong, trying it is different from forcing them to do it.
Yeah. Like, giving them the option to do what they want within an RC like this would have opened up the door for so many more people to embrace what they are more passionate about and more skilled at. Because I'd prefer to recruit people who are more skilled in, overall, like, I feel like, in one area than just like average at everything else. Because if you can be like Soli, yeah, he tried something that he never knew he was good at or something like that, but he didn't have a choice. And I feel like if he had a choice and he wanted to just like prove he's able to do this and stuff like that, he's just not one thing. But he doesn't like have the he has the option to decide not to if he doesn't want to. I feel like that'd be more accustomed to the community, because I don't know, it would just feel more rounded as a recruitment challenge. But it shouldn't be a recruitment challenge. Like, just recruit normally, do it like normal RC. Have if you want a more like smaller pickup, then maybe get like a select few, like 5 people, have them on obey eps or whatever, and then if that ep does good, announce them on that video. If it doesn't do good, still have it go up, just don't announce them on it.
All right. Is Elusive still dead?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah.
hasn't been here.
He's
He's not
not been
waking up
here
anytime soon.
the whole time. Funny thing, he was actually the person who said he was going to make it over them two. Um, but he passed out. I think we're all running low on sleep. But if you guys real quickly want to self promote yourselves, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
I'm good. Everyone knows who I am.
Oh,
My
okay.
That's
I
ad's
see.
so egotistical.
My
No, I
ad's
mean
already
like
on the
everyone
screen.
here knows who we are. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you see their Twitters on the screen. Anyway, before we end the stream,
Selfie.com/Mallowed.
isn't Selfie dead?
I mean, not till February.
Oh, okay. I thought everyone was pay hips the new wave. But before we end the stream, I would like to make a special announcement. So let me get that ready real quickly.
Dude, Rise, it's not egotistical. Man needs some money. Big difference.
Is Koi pregnant?
Give me a
Are you
sec.
pregnant?
Something similar. I hold on. I might as well just put it on the screen here and then I'll tweet it in a sec. Koi is pregnant. Yes, you are onto something here. Da, 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 da. Can we get a drum roll?
I can't. It's 1 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Dawn tapping his long ass nails on his desk.
Oh, this is huge. Okay. Wait, let me put this under
Koi
here.
is getting an abortion.
Do you know you can like right click and stretch to fit?
I don't know what's going on, but here. Here we are. We have the official roster for the 2020 Aether Media's roster. Aether Media's essentially is my baby. This is why I'm pregnant, right? For a long time, this has been the editing team that I've been running for the past 3 years. It's been really dead for half of that, but this is like the first ever Destiny editing team that I started myself, and I was really excited. It has evolved a lot over the years, but it's sort of lost purpose. So it was going to be. I've always wanted to start a studio for myself. Later, when I have money in my lifetime, I definitely want to start my own business and start, something like Warner Brothers or whatever, like something like that. Of course, my own taste, sort of individual or independent film company. But as we are right now, sort of, editors on the web and creatives as a whole. This is going to be the new roster. We have the management, which is going to be me, AP, who's a videographer for Misfits, Erican. He's just a good friend, but he's really involved in the PC community. He's going to be helping with the special events and stuff that we might be hosting. AJ's been here since the start with me, and he just helps me with a lot of the ideas. As far as the editors go, we have Stolen, Mallowed, Oda, Lightmind, Panda, Kilo, DNSQE, Myth is a motion designer, Elusive, Luo, Kinosaur, and Goner. Now, this is just a start. We're obviously going to be looking for more people in the future. Definitely going to be looking for designers soon. That's going to be the next step. Hopefully, we can find some people. But we're gonna basically the whole point of this new year is we're gonna be starting to take commissions through the team and help each other improve, help each other find clients, and we're gonna be working together, and it should be great. Hopefully, I can keep up the pace with this whole thing throughout the year. I got a lot of projects. I plan to continue the podcast, hopefully make my own videos, and this is gonna be the biggest year for everybody. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna tweet this in a sec here, and I hope you guys can all support it. Thank you for coming out to the stream. Next time, actually, I might have like a poll for the topics of next time. Or you could just let me know real quickly here, like what sort of things we could do videography, we do content, we could do, photographers, whatever it may be. We're gonna go through all things creatives. Hopefully, I can get some cool guests on here. Um, Corey made this team to hide the fact he's getting abortion. All right. Well, um, yeah. So, if you could just follow the Twitter here, I'll post it in chat and I'll tweet it in a sec. That is the Twitter, Aether Medias. Originally, it was called Aether. Actually, the first draft it was ever called was Aether Arts because like AA makes sense. Then we changed it to Studios. That was it for a while, but I got mad at the Twitter not having it was with an underscore and stuff or the studio. So medias is a more vague term, and we're going to be doing some great things, and I hope everyone supports this. So any closing comments from you guys before we end the stream?
Fuck Lucifer.
Um,
All right, I will be uploading this stream, I guess you could say, the past broadcasts to my YouTube channel. Here, maybe tomorrow or later today or something like that. If you guys want to listen to it over again or share it with your friends and hopefully maybe we'll see some of you guys on the stream next time.